enjoy the outdoors as much as I do, then you'll find yourself fixing to spend some quality time relaxing and connecting with Mother Nature. Even if safety is your number one priority, it doesn't guarantee that things will go accordingly. For the cases you're about to hear, that's exactly what happened. Join me as I count down 10 more of the strangest state and national park missing person cases out there. Note that these are only a small number of cases available to the public, while many others go under the radar, are withheld, and sometimes brushed aside. Number 10. In September of 2016, a 74-year-old hiker named Peter Jackson disappeared inside the Yosemite National Park while out on a day hike from his campsite at White Wolf Campground. On September 17th, the day before he was reported missing, he had sent a text message to his son explaining his plans, which park officials were able to confirm. His vehicle was found at the campground, and camping fees were paid as far out as September 21st. After 2 weeks of intense search efforts, the search for Jackson was placed in continuous limited mode until the case went as cold as the approaching autumn chill that began to set in. As far as we know, Jackson was in excellent physical condition for his age, with no medical issues. He was well prepared for the hike and knew the area and the outdoors well. As mentioned in previous videos, many folks have disappeared inside that park as well and have never been found. Number 9. In January of 2017, a 35-year-old woman whose name has not yet been released disappeared inside the Brackley Beach area of the Prince Edward Islands National Park. Police stated that park officials discovered her abandoned vehicle inside the park with an expired permit. All of her personal belongings were still inside the unlocked vehicle. Police dogs and helicopters were called in to join the search effort, as well as dive teams and several dozen professional search and rescue outfits. 10 days after she went missing, her body was discovered on the shore not far from her vehicle and in an area previously searched several times. Autopsy reports confirmed that she had not drowned and there was no physical signs of trauma on her body. She was found without any shoes. The identity of the woman's name is being kept private as requested by the family. Number 8. On August 2nd, 2014, a 59-year-old Sonoma County man named Steve Morris disappeared on a hiking trip with friends in the Trinity Alps wilderness, just north of Weaverville in eastern California. Steve was ahead of the group during the descent of Billy's Peak when he disappeared. Nobody thought twice about it because he was a very experienced hiker. Concern began to set in when the three friends returned to the campsite with no trace of him. After search and rescue teams spent a week of combing through treacherous terrain, they called off the search altogether. That's when Steve's wife took over. She took it upon herself to scour the 7,000-foot high mountains with a handful of volunteers that involved 2 professional trackers, 2 helicopter crews, relatives, friends, and parishioners from her church. The expensive cost of the search effort lasted for nearly 12 weeks before resources ran dry and the search for Steve officially ended. To this day, no trace of him was ever found. Number 7. In June of 2013, a 51-year-old man named Dale Stehling disappeared inside the Mesa Verde National Park in southwestern Colorado. Dale and his wife planned to stay at the park for a few weeks and were only 4 days into the trip when he disappeared. On the day he disappeared, he told his wife that he was heading off on a small hike to the Spruce Tree House ruin, an attraction whose path is reportedly steep, but only 1/4 mile long and completely paved. After 2 hours, his wife became concerned and raised the alarm. This set off a 2-week search effort that included as many as 60 rescuers, 4 helicopters, 2 dog teams, and rope teams that rappelled off the cliffs in the area. But despite these combined efforts, no trace of him was ever found. Number 6. In October of 2006, an 8-year-old boy named Samuel Boehlke vanished inside the Crater Lake National Park while out on a camping trip with his father. On the second day of the camping trip, the two set off on a small day hike near the campsite when the two became separated. The father stated that they were on the trail when he peered off to his left to look at a group of birds that were making sounds. When he looked back, the boy was gone. Horsemen, mountain rescue squads, and hundreds of volunteers with search dogs combed the entire north rim of Crater Lake for several days. Rescue specialists from as far as northern Washington and southern California joined in the search effort, but no trace of him was ever found. Despite some low-level signs of autistic behavior, Samuel was not known to wander off by his lonesome. To this day, he remains missing. Number 5. In December of 1946, a 22-year-old Bennington college student named Paula Weldon decided to go for a hike along the long trail which runs along the crooked spine of the Green Mountains in Vermont. She informed her roommate of her hiking plans and said she would return shortly. Before she entered the park, she had gotten directions from a newspaper delivery worker and set off into oblivion. Witnesses reported seeing her enter the long trail, but she was never seen again. The FBI got involved, as did the state police from Vermont and Connecticut. Her case gained national attention within days of her disappearance, and here's why. Starting in 1945, a string of strange disappearances occurred on the trail, baffling experts. For the next few years, 7 people would vanish on that trail as well, never to be seen again, including a man named Mitty Rivers, James Telford, Paul Jepson, a woman named Frida Langer, Martha Jones, and Francis Christman. A few theories surfaced and speculated that the disappearances were the work of a possible serial killer, or a possible spike in animal attacks. But despite these search and rescue efforts involved in each case, no trace of these poor folks were ever found. In 1992, a New England author named Joseph A. Citro coined the term Bennington Triangle in the area of where these people vanished and were never seen again. As recent as 2017, people continue to disappear within the Green Mountains under mysterious circumstances. Number 4. In July of 1938, a 4-year-old boy named Alfred Beilhartz was on a hike with his family in the Fall River region of Rocky Mountains National Park when he vanished. The boy fell behind on the trail, and when the family turned to look for him a moment later, he was gone. The family then frantically searched the area before requesting assistance from park rangers. Initially, the searchers and rangers assumed the boy had gotten into a nearby creek which paralleled the trail, so they dammed the creek and dragged it for over 6 miles. Next, they focused their efforts on land, bringing in bloodhounds that were able to detect a scent to where the boy had disappeared, and then they sat down. At the time of the boy's disappearance, a couple was hiking approximately 2,500 feet above the Fall River Trail when they heard a very strange sound coming from above them on a place called Devil's Nest. The witnesses were stunned to then see a small boy walk out onto a ridge, peer out, and walk out of sight again. An elite team of climbers and rescuers were dispatched to the area after the couple reported the sighting, but no trace of Alfred was ever seen again. Number 3. On January 6, 2010, a 37-year-old Alameda woman named Katherine Truitt was reported missing by federal park rangers at Point Reyes National Seashore in Marin County, California. Her pickup truck was found abandoned at the parking lot with 2 of her dogs still inside, and she had a 3rd dog that was found leashed to a nearby rock. Prior to her disappearance, Katherine sustained a neck injury which, combined with a pre-existing spinal problem, left her with chronic pain. Given this, those who knew her stated that she wouldn't have wandered off very far, let alone go anywhere without her dogs. An extensive search of the park turned up no clues of Katherine. But shortly after her disappearance, another woman disappeared in that area as well. A 77-year-old woman named Sylvia Lang, an experienced outdoor enthusiast, vanished just 8 miles from the location Katherine did and was never found. Number 2. In March of 2000, 2 people jogging on Mount Baker in Washington State spotted a shred of clothing hanging from a nearby tree. Upon further investigation, they discovered an SUV plunged over a steep embankment, but no sign of anybody was inside or nearby. The vehicle was found close to an abandoned logging road, and police were then able to identify the Jeep belonging to a missing 23-year-old college student named Leah Roberts. Just 9 days earlier, Leah left her home in Raleigh, North Carolina, and had mentioned her traveling plans to a friend, stating that she had hoped to make it to a place called Desolation Peak near Mount Baker. She was inspired to travel to this area after reading a book called The Dharma Bums that encourages the reader to leave behind the materialism of modern life. She had secretly wanted to follow in the footsteps of the author of the book, Jack Kerouac, who had found peace and tranquility on that peak. So just 3 months shy of graduating from college, she decided to turn her dream into reality. She packed up all of her belongings and set off on the 3,000-mile journey across the country. But before doing so, she left a note for another friend stating that she was not suicidal, but just quite the opposite. When her SUV was examined, it was full of Leah's belongings, a large amount of cash, an empty cat carrier, and personal family heirlooms. There are many interesting facts surrounding Leah's disappearance, and I strongly encourage all of you to do an online search of this. Number 1. In October of 2016, a 31-year-old man named Melvin Burtch set out on a hike with his 2 dogs in the Columbia River Gorge in Washington State. He had planned a day hike at the Table Mountain area north of Bonneville Dam when he went missing. The day after Melvin disappeared, employees at the Bonneville Hot Springs Resort saw his dogs at his car, which was parked at the trailhead. Deputies spoke with the dog's owner, who was Melvin's friend, and she stated that he had texted her a photo from what appeared to be the top of Table Mountain at 2 p.m. just the day before. There were no text or calls after that, she stated. Authorities were then able to pinpoint Melvin's cell phone location, and his body was found a short time later within 50 yards of the phone. Those who knew Melvin were shocked to learn that he had fallen from the summit of the mountain to the base, approximately 700 feet below. He was found nearly naked and without his shoes, which baffled searchers considering how moderate the temperatures were during that time of year. Those who knew him stated that he was in excellent shape and very well experienced in the outdoors. Even though his body was eventually found, I chose this case as number 1 due to the sheer number of cases that involve people being found without their shoes and clothing, and sometimes at the base of a very steep cliff. In fact, you may remember the recent case of a young woman named Annie Schmidt mentioned in my previous video, who went missing in that park as well, and was found in a very similar situation just last year. Also in 2016, a 37-year-old woman named Elisa McCran vanished, but we're not done yet. In 2010, the body of a 24-year-old missing hiker named Katherine Truitt was found at the base of an 800-foot high cliff after she went missing for more than a week. The Columbia River Gorge has claimed so many lives over the years. That's just one more reason I chose to make this case as number 1. And there you have it, folks. Just 10 more of the strangest state and national park missing person cases out there. And the list goes on and on. If you find yourself itching to get outdoors, there are measures you can take to minimize your chances of disappearing as well. Nothing's for certain, but if you prepare yourself for emergencies, carry protection, travel in numbers, and keep a level head, then you just might ensure your chances of survival and a safe return back home. I'm Rusty West, and thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos.